Hello, hello. Hi guys. I hope all of you are doing well. So I welcome you all to yet another video in the Databricks playlist. And in this particular playlist, we are going to see how we can write a data frame into a table. So from the very first video, what we have been doing is that we have been reading a table we have been reading a table and then we have been creating it into a data frame and then we are performing the required operations on that particular data frame. And then we may overwrite that particular data frame, or maybe we are creating a new data frame. But in this particular video, we are going to do just the opposite of that we are first of all going to create a data frame. Like, we are going to perform a filter operation on an existing data frame, and then we are going to create a new data frame out of it, and we are going to write that particular data frame into a table, right? So in the previous videos we have talked about group by operation, filter operations. We have seen how we can remove duplicate values and many more things. So if you are not aware about these basic concepts of Spark, I would suggest you to watch the earlier videos and then continue with this particular videos. So let's get right into our system and let's get started with this particular video. So I will first of all create a markdown cell where I'll be writing something as let's say write write data frame into table. Okay, WRITE. Okay, so there are two main options, I would say, what we can do. Firstly, what we can do is that we can read a table, we can do the required filter operations, maybe group by or join operations, whatever is required. We will talk about join operations in the upcoming videos. We can perform those things and we can save that particular the output data frame into another data frame, and then we can pass on that particular data frame to others to work on that particular thing. So this is usually useful when we are working in an organization where we don't want that maybe any of the department or any individual it has the access to all the data. So what we can do is that we can filter out the required columns and the required, I would say, rows, and we can hand over that particular data to him or to that particular department, so that the main table does not get affected in case of any maybe if there is any issue or maybe any wrong query is run on that particular table. So my main table will be in a safe condition, right? So this is more useful in that particular case. And if I correlate this particular concept with SQL, so in SQL we usually create views, right? We don't usually give the base table or the main table access to everyone. We create views on top of our main table, and we give the access of that particular view. So similar thing we are going to perform here also. Okay, so first of all, what I will do is that I will read my data frame. Okay, spark dot read dot table, and my table exists where in workspace dot default dot life table, right? And I'm going to display my data frame. So this is a operation that we are doing, that we are reading a table and we are getting data frame as an output. But now we are going to do just the opposite. We are going to perform a filter operation on top of this particular data frame, and we are going to write that filtered data frame into a table. So let's see how we are going to do it, right? So now we have the output of our data frame right here on the screen. Now what I want to do is that I want to just work on India and China country. I don't want any other countries details for my job, for my requirement. Okay, so what I am going to do is that I am going to first of all perform a filter operation. So how will I perform a filter operation? I will do something as from PySpark dot SQL dot functions import all, right? And then what I'm going to do is that, let's say I'm creating a new data frame as df underscore India China, okay, and that will be equals to df dot filter, and I will take the column first of all of country, and it should be equals to India. So we have already talked about the filter operation in my previous videos, right? So if you are not aware about filter operations, you can just go and watch those particular videos, and you will be absolutely clear what exactly we are doing right here. Okay, India, and then I will use or condition, and here I will put country is equals to call of country will be equals to China, correct? And now what I'm going to do is that, first of all, let me display this particular data frame. So df underscore India China, I will display it. So you can see that now the filter operation has been performed, and in the new data frame, that is df underscore India China, we only have the data where the country column has the value China and India. That's it. And rest of the other countries are not present in this particular data frame. Now what I want to do is, I want to now save this particular data frame into a table, so that maybe I can pass on that particular table or give the access of that particular table to other people in my team who are working on this particular data. Okay. So now what I will do is that I will write an operation, that is df underscore India China dot write, okay, dot save as table, okay, and I will give the table name, let's say life underscore India China. Okay, if I go to my catalog, okay, if I go to my catalog right here, and here in the default database, you will see, right, that we are having only three tables: life expectancy India China. We are not having any table named as life underscore India China, right? We are having life expectancy underscore India China, but we are not having life underscore India China. Even if I refresh it, you will see that we are not having any such table. Okay, you are already aware about that this information schema a table, it contains the metadata of my workspace and my notebooks and tables, whatever is present. Basically the system whole system's metadata is present in this particular table. Again, this test db, youtube db and ytdb has been created by me in the earlier videos. Okay, so now when I run this particular cell, what you will see is, so first of all, let it get executed. So here, if you must have noticed, so here two tasks got executed, right? Earlier, whenever we used to perform any kind of operations, only one task was getting executed, but in this particular operation, two tasks were getting executed. So first of all, let's see and let's understand what were those two tasks that got executed. Okay. Now, if I see, like, this is the, I would say, whole metadata and whole information of this particular query, that how many byte was read, how many bytes were written, total rows were read, total rows were written, files and all these things. We have got all the metadata information right here in this query. And when I see this query profile, so you will see right here that two operations were performed. Okay, so the very first operation was performed of scan table, and that particular scan was performed where on the workspace.default.life delta table, and we got as an output here, if you will see, we got as an output 32 rows, right? And that particular 32 rows was getting well, it was written into a particular table, whatever the name we had given in that particular query, and that 32 rows as an output was written into a table. So these two operations were performed in this particular query. Okay, so this particular information you can get for all the queries we have run till now. Okay, and now if I go back to my catalog and if I refresh this, is it refreshed? I don't think so. Let me refresh the whole page. Okay. And now you will see we have a table named as life underscore India China. And now if I click on this particular table, you will get all the information related to this particular table as as we were getting for the rest of the tables that we are having, right? We have the overview, we have the columns, we have its type, we can add comment and whatnot. We have already talked about these things. If I talk about the sample data, okay, so let me select the compute, start and close, and let's move forward to the details. So in the details, we can see on this particular date and time it was created, by this particular person it was created, right? The default the storage location and rest of the metadata is already visible here, right? Permissions. So this is exactly what I was talking about, that here we can grant some kind of permission if we are working in an organization. What kind of privilege we can do? We can if he can apply just tags, if he can modify, he can just use select queries, he cannot modify. We can give the all privileges. It means a kind of admin access we can give, or we can just give a kind of ownership where dropping and renaming tables is not allowed for that particular user, right? So this was the exact thing that I was talking about. So let's get back to the sample data. It's taking a bit of time to load, right? So now I can see that my sample data has been loaded and it's exactly the same that we have got as an output here in the notebook, right? So we can verify this particular thing. Cool. Now let's move forward, and what we will do now is we will run this particular cell again and let's see what happens. Okay. Cool. So we have now encountered an error, and if you read that this particular error, you will understand it very easily. Cannot create table or view with this particular name because it already exists, and it's very true. My table is already there in my database, default database. If I would have chosen some other database, for sure we can create it, right? Now to overcome this particular error, we have something called as modes. Okay, and we have two modes that we can use. So let's first of all understand what are those two modes and what's the difference between those two modes. Okay, so now what I will do, df underscore India China dot write, okay, dot mode, and first of all I will use overwrite. Okay. Overwrite and dot save as table, sorry, dot save as table and life underscore India China. That's it. Okay. And now if I run this particular thing, so what exactly overwrite do is it overwrites my existing data with the new data, like whatever is the new data present now in this particular data frame. So currently there is no no new data. It's exactly similar to the data that is already present in my data frame. So let's first of all run it and let's see if I'm able to run it successfully or if I'm getting some kind of error. So it has run successfully, and here if I now go and refresh this particular page again, so you will see there is no change in the data set. Even though it has performed an overwrite operation, it has performed in the backend an overwrite operation, but there is no change because the data was exactly similar to the previous data itself. So now let's do one thing. Let's add another condition here. Okay, I will use and call of country is equals to, let's say, Afghanistan. Okay, and now if I run this particular cell again, so you can see now the Afghanistan has also been appended to my data frame, right? As a row, it has been appended into my data frame. Now if I'm going to run this particular cell again, for sure I'm going to get an error, right? But now if I run this particular overwrite mode, right, and if I'm going to run this particular cell, let's see what happens. So this cell got ran successfully, and now if I refresh this particular page, so you can see that the new data frame, or I would not say new data frame, the new rows that were added to the data frame got appended to my to my table, right? So here it's not that it's just the Afghanistan row that got appended. So here the previous data frame that was present, it got absolutely deleted, and the new data frame got written over here. So I can even verify that particular thing, right? So let's do one thing. Let's keep what I will do. Okay, let's remove this, and instead of China, I will use any other country. What are the other countries I am having? So let's take Albania. Okay, Albania. Okay, I will take Albania. So now, if only the new data was getting appended, right? In that particular case, this India, like Afghanistan and China should exist, right? And Albania should get added, but it will not happen. Just see what exactly happens, right? I will run this. I will run this cell, and I will now run the override. So now what happened? So now we should get Albania and India in my table. And let me refresh this again. So now I am getting Albania and India as a table, and Afghanistan and China got removed from this particular table. It means the previous table is getting absolutely flushed out, and the new table is getting created every time we are doing the overwrite operation. So this is sometimes not good, right? When we have some kind of incremental load, in that particular case, overwrite can become it can become a very complex, not very complex thing, but a compute intensive operation, I would say, right? So in that particular case, another mode comes into picture, that is called as append mode. So what I can do now is I will do df underscore India China, okay, dot write dot mode dot append, okay, and it has given me the correct query right here, okay. Instead of this overwrite mode, I will use append mode, okay. And now if I run this, let's say I'm having another condition where this I'm adding, instead of India, I'm having Afghanistan, let's say Armenia. Let's take Armenia, and I will have, let's say, Pakistan, okay. Pakistan, okay. And let me run this, and now I will use the append operation. So what it will do is that these data that is already present, these 32 rows will be present in my data frame as it is, and the newer rows will get appended to my data frame. So if I run this, if I would have run the overwrite operation, in that particular case, the earlier data would have got removed and the newer data would have got appended to my data frame, to my table, I would say. But now if I come back and do a refresh operation, so you will see Armenia and Pakistan are present, but Albania and India is also present in my table, okay. So this is the difference between append and overwrite mode in write operation. Cool. So when to use what? So it totally depends on the use case. So if you want to write the newer the new data that is already coming, right, and you want to persist the older data, you can use append mode. But if you want to flush the old data and rewrite the whole particular thing into the table, in that particular case, you can use the overwrite mode. So I hope you learned something new in this particular video. I will see you in the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep growing. Bye bye.